This show happens because of Cornerstone Business Solutions. If you've got a whole lot of process-driven tasks that you're just not getting around to, or maybe you're doing them yourself, don't. Think about getting a virtual assistant through Cornerstone. You can book a discovery call with owner David Warren now on 02 9083 6689. And we're also made possible by the very good folk at WebCentral, creators of beautifully effective websites and online marketing programs that help small businesses grow. We all want a bit of that, right? You can grab one of their exclusive listener deals over at webcentral.com.au/Timbo. Today's guest has a risk-free idea that enables you, the small business owner, to sell more stuff more often. Oh, hello. Too good to be true? I don't think so, but I'll let you be the judge.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to the Small Business Big Marketing Show, Australia's #1 marketing podcast. I am your host, Timbo Reid, but you, infinitely more importantly, you're a motivated business owner and you are ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful, beautiful business of yours into the empire it deserves to be. Never get sick of saying that. You know why? Because that is exactly what we do around here, and that's what the listeners who keep coming back for more are achieving. They're building empires. Hey, big show today. Got this fellow Nick Molnar of Afterpay joining us, who's created a way for customers to buy what they want today and pay for it later. And it's not a credit card. It's something smarter than that. And you, the merchant, the small business owner, have the opportunity to sell more stuff. More on that in a minute. I also launch a new segment. Yeah, I lovingly call. And here's the intro. You ready? What have you got to lose? I love a good intro. Looking forward to that segment later on after the interview. I share some criticism from a listener about something I just won't stop doing. And we revisit an old episode in which award-winning jeweller Carl Schwantes shares his secret sauce for creating an unforgettable customer experience. How's that for a show, hey? You excited? I am. As per usual, team, there is marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Coming up after the interview, as always, I will share my top 3 attention grabbers from my chat with my guest. Plus, I will be launching a new segment that will give you one marketing idea to implement immediately. Gotta love that. But first, allow me to introduce you to Nick Molnar, who's the founder of Afterpay, a really simple payment system that lets customers buy what they want today. In fact, they can take it home immediately, then pay for it over 4 equal fortnightly instalments. It's also proving a great way for a whole lot of retailers who are already taking it on to sell more product. You gotta love that. We want more sales. We cover a lot of ground in this chat, including how Afterpay came about, how Afterpay enables retailers to increase sales, and Nick did a really interesting implemented a really interesting marketing tactic in which he rallied his most loyal customers to do his marketing, and he explains how he does that, plus plenty more. Now, Nick was brought to my attention by an old friend and past guest of this show, in Paul Greenberg of the National Online Retailers Association. So, here's what Paul had to say about Nick.
Hi Tim, this is Paul Greenberg of Nora, just putting in some commentary on the terrific Nick Molnar. I think Nick's a wonderful example of new retail entrepreneurship. Here's a young guy who started his career in retail, and specifically online retail in marketplaces, selling fine jewelry on eBay. We're talking about his school and uni days. He was one of the largest eBay sellers of fine jewelry. I think what was very exciting was the iteration of Afterpay was based on a young guy who had come from retail trying to develop a solution for retail. So by a retailer for retail to help grow revenue and sales. And I think Afterpay is doing exactly that. Now, Nick himself is a good bloke. You've chatted to him. He's had some wonderful dream run, I suppose, over the last 3 or so years with the foundations of Afterpay. As a co-founder, he's gone on then to assist with listing the company on the ASX. He's now one of the youngest ASX CEOs, I think, ever. He hasn't changed in the least. I've known Nick for the last 5 or 6 years, perhaps a bit longer. He's the same bloke that was selling fine jewelry back in the day. Even though he's running a company that's approaching nearly $500 million in market capitalization, you've got to hand it to him. His feet are very much firmly on the ground. And as I say, a wonderful example of entrepreneurship. My personal support for Afterpay as an advisor is based around any technology-led solution that helps Australian retailers grow sales or helps the retail pie grow. So we're actually hoping to see a lot more technology coming out of these young entrepreneurs who understand technology, are very innovative, that can help Australian retailers grow their sales, maintain customer centricity, and make life easier for the shoppers. So here's to that, onwards and upwards.
Thank you, Paul. Now, I started off by asking Nick what he learnt from cutting his teeth in his family's retail jewellery business.
Yeah, so I guess coming from a jewellery family background, what it allowed me to do was learn every little bit of detail about retail, which has kind of led me towards where I am now. And the benefit of having particularly parents who have been on the shop floor for the past 30 years means that you don't really take for granted all the little intricacies of how you sell a product, and you translate that across when you're selling anything online to even Afterpay in the current instance. And I mean, even just as an example, our merchandising strategy when we were selling jewellery online was actually to sit down with my mum, who we considered to be the jewellery expert, and to say to her, okay, if someone came into your store and said, I want to buy a black diamond ring, how would you sell it? And then on the back of the questions that she would ask, she'd tell us that she would ask her customers. We would then build the shopping experience, the filters, the product rankings, all that kind of information got built into how we built out our customer experience. So the really grassroots retail family background, I think, sets you in really good stead. I think selling is a key component, and closing a sale is a key component of business.
Oh, yeah. And I noticed with Afterpay, which we will get to very shortly, you do that pretty well. So that whole, I mean, there's so much to learn in retail, isn't there? And I kind of figure, like, if you can nail retail, then you can almost nail any other aspect of business.
I completely agree. Even down to the simple point when we're speaking to a small to medium-sized business who wants to come on board Afterpay, it's like you can better understand why they would want to use Afterpay. You better understand how that fits into all the different categories. And even something as simple as just closing a sale. Ask the retailer if they want to sign the contract, how quickly they want to come live. There's all these little components that you pick up, and ultimately you've got to be pretty confident to be a small to medium-sized business owner and to be in retail. And I think there's a mutual respect that comes into play on the back of just your feedback and learnings that you experience through retail.
Oh, yeah. So let's talk Afterpay. Where'd the idea come from?
So I launched one of the big online jewellers from the States, ice.com, into the local market, and a big part of American retail is instalment payments. It was 50% of all of their orders. So I understood how instalment payments were working from an overseas perspective.
How does instalment payment differ from lay-by?
Well, in America, the way it would work is that you'd actually receive your product up front. So what I realised quickly was that instalment payments were a great opportunity. The way that they're structured in that far better customer experience where the customer actually gets the product straight away, it translates to Australia from a lay-by perspective, and it's totally underestimated how much of a cornerstone lay-by is in Australian retail. There's certain very large omni-channel retailers who sell more lay-by than they actually sell online. So what I understood was these retail dynamics that were taking place in Australia, coupled with just a history of trading online, and really knew from a retailer's perspective that ultimately if you can make products more affordable, people will spend more. So it was built from a retailer's perspective to help retailers sell more, but doing it in a way that was really unashamedly and genuinely customer-centric. So we don't charge the customer anything more than they would originally pay, provided they pay on time, obviously, which is all automated. So if they're buying a $200 pair of jeans, they simply pay 4 payments of $50. So it was really, a combination of everything we've just previously spoken about. It's a combination of trying to close the sale. It's a combination of providing a better customer experience, and it's just about being on the ground and listening.
So just coming back to that, so you were responsible for bringing ice.com. Heavens know what that domain would be worth, but that's a conversation for another time. You bring that to Australia as an online jewellery business. You discover just how powerful this idea of giving the consumer the item up front and then spreading the payments over a period of time. Was there a moment when you've looked at someone and gone, I think there's actually a product in that little service right there?
Well, yeah, that was kind of part of it. I think the reason why there was an opportunity for a product was because it's very difficult to determine someone's risk profile in the Australian market. And how people get around that is they ask, a customer to fill out a 15-minute form.
Yeah. So we're talking about like that, just to be clear, like Harvey Norman with their 50 months interest free, that is quite a painstaking process to go through, right?
Yeah, so we're unashamedly not a finance product, and we're not out there to ask someone to fill out an intrusive form. The only bit of information a customer will give us is the card that they want to automatically be billed in the future, and they submit their order.
That's it?
So, yeah, that's all. So it was all premised around a thesis that we can, if our business is around risk assessment, we can do risk assessment really well. And equally, the retailer just wants to stay super focused on selling more product, not about, recovering money or financing an order or whatever it might be. So, we pay the retailer straight away and then we assume all the risk.
So you are a finance company?
Well, we're a payments company. So we pay the retailer straight away. However, we don't charge the customer any interest. There's no establishment fees. There's no monthly account keeping fees. So to the customer, it's exactly like a lay-by, but they get the product straight away. So we're not looking to issue someone with a loan. It's all about just helping the everyday purchase transact more. Our average order value is $150. It's the everyday purchase from Topshop or Peters of Kensington or Toys R Us that people buy. We don't sell the $3,000 TVs.
Okay, so let's just get clear on how Afterpay works from both the merchant and the consumer point of view. From the consumer point of view, real easy. You can Afterpay it. I love the fact that it's a verb. So you can Afterpay it, and for easy instalments, the sign-up process at the point of purchase, whether that be online or in-store, is incredibly simple because you're just asking which credit or debit card do you want transacted over the next 4 payment periods, which are broken down into 2-week fortnightly payments, correct?
Exactly.
Okay, so tick consumer from the merchant point of view, and there's a lot of potential merchants listening, Nick. What are they? Are they giving away the farm to do this?
No, so it is more expensive than the traditional payment option because of the service that we provide. So
being credit cards, the traditional... Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So we assume all the risk and we pay the retailer straight away, which comes at a cost. But maybe just to give you a little bit of context, in the first 2 weeks that we went live with General Pants, we processed over 25% of their online orders.
Wow. Is that your first client?
They came live about 6 months ago, a little bit over 6 months ago. But the value that retailers are seeing is really, really strong average order value uplift. So people like Q and General Pants have seen more than a 20% uplift in average order value when someone uses Afterpay over a traditional payment option. So, it's natural customer psychology to not look at the $200 pair of jeans as $200, but rather to focus on the $50, and then it turns to, well, can I buy a T-shirt to go with my jeans? And I look at how my wife shops, and
don't. That is fraught with danger.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I mean, it's not that she can't necessarily afford the $200 dress. It's just that she can't justify it.
But she can justify 4 lots of $50 payments.
Yeah, well, she can see how that aligns with, her regular pay cycle.
Right.
She feels more responsible. She's most likely using a debit card, so she's linking it to money she has access to. So it all syncs a whole range of really positive attributes that make shopping feel really, really great.
Just to be clear, just going back to the merchant, so they're signing up to be an Afterpay provider. They then there's a process that I imagine it's not that hard a process because again, you're taking all the risk, so they're not having to give away too much, are they? And they're paying a percent. What percentage are they paying? Yeah, so look, we don't disclose our fees. Come on, Nick.
But they're a few percent higher than what someone would traditionally pay. So it's still absolutely a win-win for both the retailer and the customer. And the whole selling proposition is, the retailer will pay us a little bit more than they would normally pay, but they sell materially more product. That's the biggest selling proposition.
And back to the consumer, if I don't pay on time, if there's no money in my account, what am I hit with? $1 million?
So there's a $10 late fee.
That's pretty cool.
But it's very, very fair. So we'll send the customer an SMS, an email reminder in the lead up to their payment being due, and all the customer needs to do is ensure that they've got sufficient money on their card for us to automatically bill. So we're reminding that customer all the way in the lead up. It's not like, I got a text message from Telstra yesterday. It was like, you're 120% over your data limit.
Yeah, right.
We're the opposite. We're really proactive. It's all about making sure we build an awesome relationship with our customers, and on the back of that, they're becoming our biggest advocates. We ran a customer campaign where, because we knew how passionate our customers were, a few weeks ago we went out to our customers, which is really interesting. It's more of a SMB marketing tactic, kind of a guerrilla opportunity, where we said to our customers, if you don't have if one of your most favourite retailers isn't live on the Afterpay platform, why don't you contact them and why don't you tell them that they should get Afterpay live and then hashtag Afterpay it. We had some of the biggest retailers in the country who are subsequently live who have contacted us and said, are you running some kind of a guerrilla campaign towards us? Because our customer service is going crazy with customers contacting us to get Afterpay. So I think, it's a really interesting example of when you build something that's genuinely in the customer's favour, they're really smart, they're really well educated, and they become your biggest ambassadors.
I love that. So how did you get that groundswell happening? Did you use your existing customer base, email addresses, Twitter handles, whatever, and say, hey, listen, reach out to retailers that aren't using Afterpay? Is that what you did?
Yeah, we did it all on social. So it was all driven through social. It went viral. And then we had customers telling friends about it, trying to get their friends to contact other retailers. One of the feedback was, well, why don't you just do a poll? So a customer wrote, why don't you do a poll and then get us to vote on the retailers we want live, and then you can go to the retailers and tell them we got this many. So then we ran a poll and it got a lot of traction, and we stretched it out as long as we can, but it drove a tremendous amount of retail acquisition for us. It was a really great initiative.
You got a bit of customer love there, mate. You're building a bit of a cult.
I love it.
Do you nurture those guys?
We do, and we're really personalised, and we make sure. I mean, the biggest thing is you just got to make sure that every step and every interaction you have is totally true to the core values that you display. It's no point saying you're genuinely customer-centric when you're truly not.
So is customer-centric a core value?
Yeah, so our why, I guess, the way we look at our why internally is driven by innovation inspired by people. So we're building retail products that make fantastic shopping experiences, but everything we do has the customer in mind, has the people that are going to use it in mind.
Can you just explain, paint the picture? Because I think more businesses should do this customer-centric model, this idea. Jerry Ryan from Jayco Caravans talked about the idea of, on the caravan production line, there is a photo of the family that's bought that caravan. So his people, his mechanics, his workers are engaging and have an emotional attachment to those people. How does that play out in Afterpay at Afterpay's HQ?
Yeah, I think you have to do that these days. You know, the customer is totally saturated with content. They're so well informed. They have so much opportunity and so many options. And unless they're receiving a service that, you know, genuinely means something to them, or they get an insight into how the product's made, or the background, or you know, who's the family behind it, like those are the experiences that people are shopping on. They're buying based on an experience these days because of the sheer choice that they've got availability to. So I just think that customers are so smart these days. You need to be proactive. You need to genuinely be in their favour. And you have to listen to them as well. You know, we regularly run focus groups. Our customers want to come in and speak to us, and we learn so much from them. Like some ideas that we thought would knock out the parks, they thought were terrible. And you just got to make sure that you're building a product that evolves with their needs and their wants.
I think it's Virgin, isn't it, at head office in the UK, where they have an empty chair around the boardroom table that represents the customer. It's either Virgin or one of those big brands. You heard of that?
Yeah. I haven't heard of that,
okay.
But I think it's a really interesting point. I mean, like the way we've kind of overlaid that in our organisation is everyone that we've hired has come from a retail background.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, as I mentioned before, we're not a typical finance business, and we've made sure that we stay true to our focus, which is, you know, when we say we're inspired by people, it's inspired by people who use our products. It's also inspired by the people that are driving our business from HQ. So we need to make sure that we maintain that same culture of people that, you know, genuinely share those values. So I think your staff plays a really important part, particularly as you grow, in how you maintain your values, and you just need to communicate that really, really well to them.
I'm talking to Nick Molnar, who is the founder of a very new payment system called Afterpay. Nick, let's talk marketing, because one of the things that fascinates me about a brand or a service like Afterpay is that I think there's an incredible education role that your marketing has to play, because, you know, at the start, and I would argue even now, there is a lack of awareness and understanding of how Afterpay works. What is Afterpay? How do you address that?
So the way we approached it was not to look at it traditionally. So we weren't looking to go out and build big above-the-line campaigns or digital marketing campaigns. We partnered, our approach was to partner with some of the best retail brands in the country and make sure that they can educate the Australian consumer about Afterpay. They're the trusted source, and Afterpay inherits this trust indirectly through our partnership with those retail brands. I think the key with marketing and probably the success of our product has just been, like, it is uniquely simple. It's so easy to understand. It's like my elevator pitch I've got down in a couple of sentences.
Go.
So, well, you know, if someone says to me what I do, I just say, well, Afterpay is essentially a reverse lay-by. The customer gets the product straight away and pays Afterpay back through 4 fortnightly payments.
Bang.
So $200 pair of jeans, 4 payments of $50. Straight away, retailers get it, customers get it, and it's a far easier to market your product when it's uniquely simple in that sense.
You talk about simplicity. I've clicked on Jeans West, which is one of your clients. I have, being the tight ass that I am, I've clicked on a cap for $17.49. Mainly to see whether I could actually Afterpay it. It's come up with a really nice little pop-up screen, and the user interface interface here is really important. But basically it says shop now, pay later, 100% interest-free, and then there's a little kind of visual that shows the 4 fortnightly instalments and a 3-step process. And I think there's a lot to be learned from that screen.
Absolutely.
Because, visuals here are everything. We're such time poor and,
completely agree.
You've spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah, an important point on that was we didn't start with that screen. We watched the data. We looked at what the customers were doing. We looked at where they were dropping off, where their educational points were lacking. We made sure that we emphasised the key points that they were looking for when shopping to make it as simple as possible.
Can you just dig deep on a point there? Because, again, it's all very well to say, we've got to look at our numbers and know your numbers, then you can manage your business better. Give us an example where you sit down yourself or with your team, look at your numbers and make an improvement.
Yeah, so we always, every day, look at our analytics. We're looking at our conversion funnels. From an in-store perspective, we're looking at how many in-store barcodes are generated versus redeemed. From an online perspective, we're looking at how customers are shopping with us, how they're buying, where they're dropping off. A really interesting point, and some things just take you so off guard. You definitely don't plan for them, but they surprise you in a really rewarding way. We had a request from numerous customers. They wanted us to set up a shop directory. They wanted to know where else they could use Afterpay, and they were annoyed that they couldn't just log onto our website and see who was offering it. So we never really thought that was going to be a requirement, but we built it because the customers asked for it. Now that page has received over 750,000 page views, so 750,000 views in the past 30 days. So just on the back of customers saying, hey, we want to shop by Afterpay, we want to come to you to decide where we want to shop based on who accepts Afterpay, it drives these unintended positive consequences that are really valuable. So it is very much just about listening to those customers and just rolling with the feedback.
Is there a weird? I've never asked anyone else this. When I've got a couple of credit cards in my wallet, right? There's one I prefer using more than the other. It's got a nicer design. It looks kind of cool. And, between you and I and anyone else who's listening, I kind of like tapping that one more than the other one, right? Is there a weird thing with Afterpay, a weird consumer psychology where people just like the idea of afterpaying something versus pulling out their credit cards and entering the numbers? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I think it's really important to play in, particularly with millennials. They want to be the innovator, the first mover, the early adopter. Like I said in our annual results presentation, I said, it's interesting that we've taken a market where traditionally people were embarrassed to be a lay-buyer to one where people are really proud to be an afterpayer. It's really interesting. And the I guess analogy that I draw it back from is, ties back into Uber, which is when you use Uber, the guy links it into Google Maps. It goes the fastest path. It was easier to call. You get out the Uber. It was cheaper. And then you're just like, that was a gem. Everyone should know about this, and then ultimately you get behind it, you tell all your friends, and it just drives that momentum. So I do definitely think that we're again unintentional, but we have hit this string with millennials who are just really passionate about us, and we need to make sure that we just amplify their voice and help them tell as many people as possible.
So millennials are going to have adopted this, and I'm looking at the brands that you've got on your directory, and a lot of them are very millennial because I don't know them. But that's all very well. You got those guys. Afterpay, I imagine, can only be sustainable in the long term if you pull in brands beyond what millennials are buying. To tell you the truth, until Paul Greenberg from Nora brought Afterpay to my attention, I didn't know about it. So is that a fault of yours? What are you doing to address getting in front of old blokes like me?
It's a really, really good point. I mean, when you're a small business, like we were when we started out, you have limited bandwidth, and you need to make sure that particularly you've maybe got 4 guys in your sales team, you need to make sure that every minute of their time is the most efficiently spent. We knew that fashion was our thing. Fashion was where we were getting the best cut through, so we really focused on fashion. But to your point, we have been really conscious to start moving out beyond fashion and branch out into a broader demographic. So we brought live Toys R Us just last week. We've got people like Aquila, Optus, MJ Bale's coming live soon. So we are, getting out across the broader retail market. I think you need to stay, ultra laser focused to make sure that you can get to that tipping point and build momentum. And then once you've got the substance behind, you can move into the additional services or the additional categories, so to speak.
Oh, there's a brand, Tyrola Tyres or whatever they're called. You've got a tyre brand. There you go. I can Afterpay that. Can you wrap some numbers? How many merchants have you got on board?
Yeah, so maybe to give a bit of context, in July last year we had less than 10 retailers and a few thousand customers. We now have over 900 retailers. We've got over 190,000 customers. And we're growing really, really quickly. So if you jump on our shop directory, you'll see some of the best retail brands in the country live. We're really proud of what we've built. We haven't slept much over the past 12 months, but we're really enjoying the ride. So that's been a fantastic journey so far.
What's the split between online, Afterpay available online and Afterpay available in store?
At the moment, it's primarily driven in store. Online. Online.
Yeah.
The in-store initiative was carefully crafted with the support of our retailers. So we actually built our product with them. They had feedback into how it worked. But the education and I guess scale you can generate from online is tangible. It's there. And ultimately, the main motivation for physical retailers who sell online is they want to launch online because they want to prove the business case. They want to see that Afterpay will work. But the main motivation is removing lay-by. I mean, the feedback we got was, if you can remove lay-by for us, we'll rip your arms off. It's the bane of everyone's existence. So
well, rip your arms off. That's a negative, isn't it?
Oh no, it was definitely said in a positive way. It was we don't want to store the product. We don't want the administrative headache.
I think that one of the things with lay-by, and I don't think I've ever lay-byed anything, but if I look at that process, part of it is quite demeaning for the buyer, because what it means is the buyer's got to come in on a regular basis and essentially, without saying it, say, I actually can't afford to pay for the whole thing right now, but here's a few more dollars towards the next instalment. It's kind of like, it feels like you need to...
One of my fashion retailers put it really well. She said, lay-by is like visiting your clothes in jail. It's like you want to wear it on the weekend, but you got to go and visit them.
I love it.
It's a real. I like that.
I love it.
Use that quite a bit.
Now, you mentioned you haven't slept a lot over the last couple of years. Do you mean that?
Oh, we've worked really, really hard. You have to do serious heavy lifting when you're in the early days, but you've got to do it for a couple of reasons. One is because the growth's there, you feel it, you want to run as hard as you can. But also I'm of the view that you want to scale once you know what you really need, and unless you've done every aspect of the business in first instance, you don't really know what you need. So we've grown, it might appear that we've grown really quickly, which we have, so to speak, over the past 12 months, but it's been very calculated, and there were 2 of us that were building it. We were 2 co-founders, and we kept it like that for a very good amount of time.
How many staff you got now?
We're up to a bit over 20 at the moment.
All local?
All local, so between Sydney and Melbourne.
And what's keeping you up at night?
What's keeping me up at night is making sure that we're ready for the scale that's coming our way. So, Christmas is around the corner. It's going to be a great quarter for us as a business, but what we need to do is that we make sure that we prepare. So even from a customer service perspective, that's a cornerstone of us giving the customer that unashamedly customer-centric experience, and we need to make sure that we're ready for the demand. We've almost over-invested in what's to come. So it's really, you're running hard, but you've got to run smart, and we need to make sure that we're well prepared.
When you talk about that, Nick, does it make you feel sick? What's ahead?
No, it makes me feel really excited.
You're alive.
Sick's the opposite word. It's what we build businesses for.
Correct. Are you a control freak?
I like to think I'm not. My team will probably say I am.
Say you are.
But, when you come from a small business and you
that's what I mean.
Build out a team underneath, it's hard to let go of. But really, it's about amplifying their capability, giving them the flexibility to make decisions. I'd prefer any day of the week for people to make really quick decisions, even if they're the wrong one. So we instill confidence in people to make sure that they have the authority just to keep moving forward.
When am I going to be able to Afterpay a car, a holiday or a house?
Look, it's really hard to say. We are really focused, and we've got to stay focused on our on our core market, which is specialty fashion, the Westfield brands. But there's no limit to, I think, where Afterpay can go. It's very applicable across really anywhere where a payment takes place.
So it's in the pipeline.
Oh, look, we've got some really exciting opportunities, but you got to stay focused.
You've got some competition knocking on your door. I can't remember the name of them. Feel free to mention them if you don't want to. What do you do about that?
Yeah, look, I think when you're growing, there's always going to be competition that comes up. I think competition actually creates a market. So in our instance, retailers have been hit by 3 or 4 kind of buy now, pay later services, and it was those hits, I guess, from contacts from multiple directions, which meant that people had to take it really seriously. The beauty between us and I guess the way to, I think, protect yourself against competition is make sure you stay true to your values. So there's some people that are finance companies on one side and then pay by installment companies on the other side, and I just don't think it sits well with retailers because the customer experience is everything to them.
Customer experience is everything. Simplicity is everything.
Exactly.
Because it could be complicated. Afterpay could be complicated. I think you've done a really good job at making it uncomplicated. But and clearly that's one of your values around simplicity or something like that. Because
Agreed.
When Paul Greenberg described this to me as reverse lay-by, it's like I don't get that. Like I kind of had to think really hard about it. So it's great that you're not using that terminology. You've got the it's afterpay.com.au. Why haven't you gone and bought the .com?
Oh, we do. We do own it.
You own it? It's parked or something. There's nothing on it.
Yeah, so we do own it.
Nice.
It's one of those things where you've got hundreds of things on your priority list.
Why don't you just put in a redirect? That'll take 3 seconds.
Look, there's SEO consequences. You've got to do it in the right way. So we need to make sure that we roll it out in the right way. We'll move towards our .com, and we'll move towards it when we move global as well. So we do own it, and it'll come over time.
Have you got competition overseas?
There are a few other similar payment options in Northern Europe in particular. Buy now, pay later is, depending on what statistic you read, 1 in 5 to 1 in 10 of every transaction that's made online in Northern Europe. So there are other markets where it's doing a really good job, but I do think we're genuinely different. Most markets are focused on finance. They are focused on the $3,000 TVs versus we have just come in and just said we want to stay really focused on the everyday purchase. It's the everyday $150, $200 purchase.
Nick, there's a lot of small business owners listening to this show. I'll give you a 30-second pitch to them and finish with how they can sign up for Afterpay.
Yeah, sure. So if you want to give your customer choice and you want to ultimately provide a better experience that allows them to sell more product, I think pay by installments, so 4 fortnightly installments, is definitely a great way to go. We'd love to get as many businesses on board as we can. If you visit afterpay.com.au, you can sign up, give us a call or contact us, and we've got some great people in our team who will get in touch. And I really appreciate the opportunity and definitely haven't lost track that we still feel we're nimble and we're a small business, and you got to do things like getting your customers to contact your retailers. It's just how it all works.
Nick Molnar of Afterpay, thanks for taking us behind the scenes, mate, and best of luck in the future.
Thanks, Tim.
There you go, team. Nick Molnar, founder of Afterpay. Coming up, I share my top 3 attention grabbers from that fireside chat with Nick, plus the launch of a new segment. Gotta love that. But first, here's a word from two businesses that want to help you build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it deserves to be.
Support for this show comes from Cornerstone Business Solutions, an Aussie-owned, family-run outsourcing business based in the Philippines, who can reduce your running costs by up to 90%. I asked founder David Warren to share one killer tip that would ensure any business owner's journey into the world of outsourcing was a successful one.
The secret is building a small team. And you don't have to have a big team. 2-people team to get started. And then once you've got a small team on the ground in a structured environment, so that small team helps in regards to HR, payroll, IT. Once you've got that small team on the ground and you learn how to make that team productive, then you've got an ability to scale wherever you want to go.
Cornerstone Business Solutions, where teams mean business. You can book a chat with David today at cornerstonebusinesssolutions.com.au/consultation.
Support for this show comes from WebCentral, who know exactly what Google want. Verity Ma, their Chief Marketing Officer, spells out how to please the world's biggest search engine.
Every time Google comes back to your website and crawls it, they need to see that your website has been changed, updated with fresh content and new imagery. For example, say if you're a restaurant, you want to update your menu every week and provide some specials that are on your website, give some customer testimonials. Now that fresh new content is what Google's looking for. So if you just build your website and leave it for 4 years, which let's be honest is very common in the Australian market, then you're not actually optimizing your website for your visitors or for your search engines like Google.
WebCentral, building and managing beautifully effective business websites that make the big G very happy. Check out webcentral.com.au/Timbo for exclusive listener offers. Righto, my top 3 attention grabbers from my chat with Nick Molnar of Afterpay. Number 1, be customer-centric. Never, ever stop looking at your business through the eyes of your precious customers. Be a customer of your own business. That'd be a good start. Ask customers what they think. Hold focus groups. Do whatever it takes, basically, to make this a fundamental tenet of how you grow that beautiful business of yours. Attention grabber number 2, get your customers to do your marketing. Hey, Nick's social media push asking Afterpay customers to encourage their favourite retailers to get Afterpay is genius. So it begs the question, what can you get your tribe to do for you? What would I like you to do for me? Well, gee, I'd love you to get this show in front of more people. Maybe you're the member of a Chamber of Commerce, or maybe you're a franchisee, or maybe you are part of some business association. Maybe you're in the media. I would love you to share each weekly episode with someone. There you go. That's that attention grabber in action. Get your customers to do your marketing. Attention grabber number 3, scary one. Know your numbers. Now, this one does scare a lot of business owners, but chunk it down. Start by identifying 2, 3, maybe 4 metrics that you can track on a daily basis. Not weekly, I'd suggest daily. It could be website traffic, phone inquiries, maybe even sales. Crazy thought. And as you do that, you'll start to see trends appear. And then what you can do is put in place ideas to see if you can affect positive change to those metrics. Hey, that sounds like a good idea. That's what grabbed my attention. There were many, many other things that Nick's doing that certainly also grabbed my attention, but they're the top 3. What piqued your interest? I would love to know. As per usual, head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com and you can leave a comment at the bottom of the show notes for episode 335. It's now time for What Have You Got to Lose? Righto, team, a new segment as you gathered. It's called What Have You Got to Lose? And it's where I share one simple yet effective marketing idea that you can go and implement immediately. As if there's not enough simple and effective marketing ideas in each episode already, but I want to pull one together in a segment each week going forward. Now, this will be an idea that won't cost a fortune, if anything, to implement, and that might just generate you more awareness, more inquiry, and ultimately, you guessed it, more sales. Oh, hello. Today's idea is this. I want you to make 5 phone calls to people that have the potential to help grow your business. See? Simple. Low cost. Now, these people could include past clients. Ring them. See what they're up to. Say good day. Invite them out for a coffee. I don't know. Just, reconnect with them. Current clients. Ring them. Ask for some honest feedback. Oh, scary. Maybe you ring some suppliers. Renegotiate some terms of business in your favour. Maybe you ring journalists. Identify those that show an interest in your industry. See if you can get some publicity. Make 5 phone calls. Now, this may take you outside your comfort zone. That's okay, isn't it? That's where the magic happens. And if you want a stretch goal, then aim for 10 calls. So block out 30 minutes in your diary for tomorrow or today, just not next week, okay? This is something I want you to do immediately and go for it. After all, what do you got to lose? Okay, listener feedback time. This is from Melbourne Meg. Practical and inspiring with a 5-star rating, she says. Thanks, Meg. Initially, I was a little put off by Timbo's blokey Aussie style. The dad jokes I could handle, but the blokey Aussie style, ? Can't change that. Can't change the dad jokes either, Meg. Sorry. After a few listens, though, here we go, it gets better. I realised that Tim Reid, very formal, produces a quality podcast that never gets old. No, well, I sort of hope it's evergreen. I get old. Certainly feel older than I did when I started it 7 years ago, Meg, I've got to tell you. I think it's the knees. It's the knees that start to kind of pack up on you. I've now been listening for a couple of years. I really like the way Tim challenges his guests and gets them to talk tactics. Oh, yeah. I really work hard at that, Meg. It's all about the how, in my mind. Getting the what is important and the why. Why is important? Spoken about that before, but I want you guys to walk away with the how. That's why that new segment, What Have You Got to Lose, is so important, because it's all about the how. Anyway, back to Meg. She says, I also respect Tim's transparency. If he thinks an interview or guest isn't particularly helpful, he will admit it up front. Yeah, I will. In fact, I did an interview this week that didn't quite make the cut. It was still full of some good stuff, and I've put it inside the Small Business Big Marketing Forum, which I would suggest you join, because there's some good stuff in there if you want to kind of help. You want me to help you grow your business, want to ask me a marketing question, you can do that over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Back to Meg. Tim's passion is infectious. We love that. I love when people use that word to describe what I do. I feel like I've achieved something. I want to create infectious content. It's like viral content. It doesn't quite go viral. Audio doesn't go viral. Very annoying, that. I've got to work on that. Someone help me. Back to Meg. If anyone can get you excited about your marketing of your business, it will be Tim. Oh, Meg, you're ace. That's really nice. Sorry about the blokey Aussie style and the dad jokes. That's me. I can't change it. I could speak like this for a period of time, but I think you'd all get a little bit jack of it. Majority of my listeners, men. I think I put some of the ladies off. Obviously not Meg. She persevered. Some of the other ladies haven't. Too blokey. Too much of a man's man. Hey? Anyway, Meg, love your work. Thank you so much for that review. Everyone else, head over to iTunes, leave a review with your website. Meg didn't leave a website. I'll give you a bit of a plug. Well, that almost wraps up another episode of the Small Business Big Marketing Show. Special treat for you next week. Australia's most famous baker, Tom O'Toole from the Beechworth Bakery, yells at us. He does, about the importance of people and how he's managed to create an incredible customer experience that has allowed him to create a bakery that, well, it's a number of bakeries now around Australia that generate millions and gazillions of dollars. And he does yell. It's a recording of a speech he made at a conference that I was at last week in Byron Bay. And I got to tell you, he just yelled at the audience for one long hour. But it's full of marketing gold, I promise. Now, a while back, I chatted with award-winning jeweller Carl Schwantes of Xenix Diamonds. Here he is explaining how he creates an unforgettable customer experience every time.
I kind of developed a framework around it, and it's something that I teach to my staff, and I call it my gift framework. So the gift framework is really what I love for my clients. And the first thing is G, which is to have a client greeted within 5 seconds of entering the store. I is to be introduced to them warmly and a handshake if it's appropriate. F is to find out their story. Why are they here? Where are they at in their journey? And what is it that you can do to help them? But my favourite is the letter T, which is called transform their experience. And that's all about having them leave happier than when they came. You know, it's all about the surprise and delight. And the one thing that I always try and do is to try and give a client something that they didn't think that they could ask for. And for me, when you can do that, it's an absolute game changer.
Now, Carl goes on to give a great example. And to hear that full interview with him, plus hundreds more, head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, or I would love you to subscribe free on iTunes or whatever podcast catcher you use. Hey, I'd love to hear from you. Send me an email, tim@timreid, reid.com.au, or you can hit me up on Twitter @TimboReid. And be sure to check out Cornerstone Business Solutions if the idea of a virtual assistant excites the hell out of you. And it should, because then you'll get more done with less. You can find out more about them over at cornerstonebusinesssolutions.com.au, or you can call them on 0290836689. And remember, you are who Google says you are, so be sure to visit webcentral.com.au/Timbo if you would like a custom website built and managed for you. Or maybe you just like your current one brought into the 21st century, but WebCentral are the masters at doing that. Hey, if you love the show, that is the Small Business Big Marketing Show, then go and pay it forward by letting another business owner know about it. Hey, that would be your good deed for the day. Do that once a day for the next year, and I'll do something for you. I don't know, hug, copy him a book, the boomerang effect. Until next week, I'm Timbo Reid. Thanks for listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show. May your marketing be the absolute best marketing. Bye for now.